Hello everyone, my name is Phawx. This video is going to be my 1-year review of the Steam Deck. I've now had the Steam Deck for over a year at this point. Again, I have to thank Valve for even selecting me to be in the preview round. It was an honor and a privilege. It remains as a key highlight that I can think of throughout the history of my channel. Let's get back to the beginning, starting with the preview units. So this time last year, I've had preview units of the Steam Deck for around a week at this point, and something that a lot of you most likely aren't aware of or seen was the constant amount of updates happening to the system during this time. I was still under embargo at the moment and wasn't allowed to talk about the Steam Deck in public, which was for the best, honestly, as at the time, every update that happened, I was checking for differences, literally re-benchmarking every time an update happened. On January 30th, it was super exciting because I could say out loud at that time that I've had the device for a bit now, and it was a bit odd. Linus just tweeted about it with a picture, and Gamers Nexus said nothing about it. So I was literally the only one out there with like 10-minute preview talking about the Steam Deck and giving you guys an idea of what to expect when previews could drop. Speaking for myself here, I felt as if that preview video that I made, I stepped out of bounds a little bit, what I was allowed to even say, but the cat was out of the bag and people knew I had it. So from January 30th to February 7th, that time was super busy for me to prepare for the initial preview round. Checking SD card load times, performance evaluations on the limited games that we could look at, battery life claims. Personally, I was happy that my results aligned with Gamers Nexus and Linus Tech Tips. The part that I went a bit extra on was looking at some features that weren't yet available on the Steam Deck, like core parking. My main goal here was trying to educate people who still weren't in the scene to recognize the importance of power balance that happens on an APU and how we can achieve better results with the same amount of power. Technically, these advanced mods are still not officially available, but they are around with Decky plugin tools today. When I did my full review of the Steam Deck, the most important bit that I wanted to communicate to people is that the Steam Deck with SteamOS was and is the bridge for console users to have a very console-like experience on what is explicitly a PC. I joked around in my review that it was PC2, meaning the sequel to the PC, but the sentiment is the same. If we look at Gabe's point about piracy, it's not a pricing problem, it's a service problem. In that way, SteamOS uses the Steam Deck as a vehicle to communicate to everybody that PC gaming is as fast and as easy as console gaming is. The optics that PC gaming is still too hard still exists, but looking back throughout this year, the Steam Deck has changed that. You press a big green install button and click play. Now, I'm not going to say it's perfect, right? There are people that have expectations of using games outside of Steam and their Steam Deck, and that's not always easy. Or they want to play games that leverage anti-cheat tech, and that's not compatible at all. If we look at what Valve has done with all the layers to get Windows games running on Linux, when a high-profile game comes out, Valve gets busy to make sure it's as best as it's going to be. In this particular instance, fixing the stutter present on Elden Ring when it first came out. From a user service standpoint, even Windows with the best hardware isn't fixing this day one. I'll talk more about hardware and expectations later on in this vid as we look at what the future holds, but let's get back on track as we look back throughout the year. SteamOS continued to get updates, and with SteamOS 3.2, we saw what is arguably the biggest update that came, which is arbitrary refresh rate on the panel. Now, I first demoed this on Windows side before SteamOS 3.2 came out, however, the importance of it's still present today. This is actually something we had done in the handheld scene years prior, so for any of us, this wasn't particularly new, but it's great regardless. Along with SteamOS 3.2, Remote Play became available on the Steam Deck, and I made a video showing that off as well, playing with my buddy in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. Later on in the year, we finally got access to the Steam Deck UI to be used in vanilla Steam, so even on Windows, you could bring up the Steam Deck-like UI. I can understand why Valve still doesn't really give a lot of love to the Windows side, but using your device as a WinDeck isn't as easy out of the box and requires a significant amount of work on the user's part to make it more fully featured. I'll have a more comprehensive WinDeck guide coming. And now we're up to SteamOS 3.4, where again, there was a significant feature included, but no one is really talking about it, which is a bit weird, and that is the option to allow frame tearing. Now, I covered this briefly in Spider-Man Miles Morales video, but the allow frame tearing option is an excellent option to use when going to 40 Hz mode if you care about input latency. For what it's worth, I have seldom seen any frame tearing when this option is enabled. Plus, with how the screen is actually being drawn, it's a portrait-based screen and updates from left to right, and not top to bottom. So if we slow this down, you can actually see the screen updating and ripple through from left to right. If you haven't yet used allow frame tearing option, I really do recommend it. So the playing experience on the Steam Deck has seen a significant improvement throughout the year, and there are still a lot of improvements still coming. So let's talk about the future. I've seen a few calls for a hardware upgrade, and that's, in my opinion, a little premature. This is 100% me speculating at this point, but to me it just makes no sense for Valve to have a small generational bump in performance segmenting its users when they finally got a handle on producing enough units just to meet demand. Proton, Gamescope, RADV are still being worked on, and there are still many improvements yet to come. If we just look at RADV, they are still looking to get Raytracing support working. And I want to set expectations here. 8CU on the Steam Deck is anemic from a Raytracing perspective. So even if RADV support was amazing, it's not going to be anywhere it needs to be in a gaming scenario. For example, the more powerful AMD 6800U can only run Minecraft with Raytracing at 800 by 600 at 30 frames a second, using 30 watts at load. The Steam Deck is fantastic where it is, and it's an excellent 800p 40 machine. I don't see a meaningful upgrade to the Steam Deck unless AMD's next GPU has either Xilinx or some non-shared core for RT purposes, especially for a portable device on battery. For me personally, I don't see a true successor to the Steam Deck until 2024 at the earliest. This year has seen a tremendous amount of improvements on the Steam Deck. It's almost unreal how much Valve has done in a single year. So I give Valve a 10 out of 10, 5 stars, 2 thumbs up for this 1-year review. They've done an absolutely amazing job, and I look forward to see what they get done this year. As always, guys, thank you for your time, and thanks for watching.